Hogs fans, the NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder came into town last night to take on the Hawks. Of course, we fell to the Oklahoma City Thunder 117-100, and I have to say, all signs point to this. I have a list of things that I do have to point out that I saw last night, and no, everything's not bad. Of course, like after every game, I have a good and bad and ugly that I'm going to dive into, and I'm going to talk to you guys about all of this because, of course, with 3 games in 4 days, and then on top of that, coming off of a back-to-back, you dealing with the injury bug only 3 games into the season, and then on top of that, I want to say there's a road trip that the Atlanta Hawks are going to be on up until November 4th. So, needless to say that we got off to a rocky start, and just like last season, and just like I started to say this season, it is imperative that the Atlanta Hawks start fast, stay fast, and they finish strong. Now, unfortunately, starting fast isn't necessarily what happened with the Atlanta Hawks, but we're going to dive into everything. But before I go into anything else, let me go ahead and welcome in the show. What's going on, everybody? My name is Walter Pollard. This is Atlanta Hawks Digest. And, of course, welcome to the show. Definitely don't want to hit you guys with a whole bunch of doom and gloom and, talking with a low tone of voice. Listen, it is still a good day. Sun shining somewhere, you dig? So definitely, make sure that you guys tune in, and I appreciate everyone for, viewing our page. Of course, 2,753 folks that have subscribed to this page. Continue to do so. Continue to subscribe to page. Send it to anybody that you'd like to send this to. Hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Myself, Chris, Tim Moore, and everybody here at Digest Media, we want to thank you guys for tuning in to us. Of course, this is a conglomerate, okay? Everybody we got everything from basketball to baseball to football even. So definitely continue to hit those buttons, hit the like, share, and subscribe, and send it to everybody else. And again, to the 53% of you that are not subscribed, we know that we see you guys watching. We see that you guys are commenting. Excuse me, guys. I got some comments I'm going to dive into as well because I got to talk about last night's game, last night's outing, what I saw, what came of last night, how things panned out for the Atlanta Hawks. Again, of course, in the win column, Oklahoma City took that. They are 3-0, and they are the defending NBA champs. So, you gotta take your hats off to those guys. They came in, but I want to point out that the Hawks were no slouch in last night's outing. Again, with 3 of your main contributors out of the game, not even playing. You know what I'm saying? Not even starting the game. With 3 of your main contributors not starting, you definitely got a good opportunity of seeing some young faces, some new guys on the court. Young guys got some minutes on the court, so we'll definitely dive into all of that. Let me go ahead and get this up. Yes, of course, you see the stats there. And let's just go ahead and just dive right into it, okay? Of course, we got to talk about the good. And again, the good definitely comes off of some unfortunate news. You dig what I'm saying? Of course, we didn't see KP. He was out last night. You didn't see Zaccharie Risacher. He was out last night. And, of course, you didn't see Jalen Johnson. And that is a very unfortunate thing. But we did get to see Moge, who got some starting minutes. We did get to see Onyeka Okongwu in the starting lineup as well. And also we were able to see Nickeil Alexander-Walker being thrusted up into the starting lineup. So again, that is some good that I definitely have to point out. And seeing the younger guys getting some minutes. Jacob Toppin was able to get a few minutes, 5 minutes, but nonetheless he got some minutes. Asa Newell with 25 minutes. Asa Newell 25 minutes, 12 points, 10 rebounds. Again, we saw in Summer League that this young man was able to get the ball, rebound the ball. You know what I'm saying? So that's, again, pointing out some good stuff, pointing out certain things that I do like to see from these Atlanta Hawks. And again, just being able to see younger guys getting minutes and things of that such. Before I go any further, I do want to point out what Trae Young did have to say in the post game when he was asked about Just the fact of how he can take any good from this game. If he was able to take anything from this loss and take it with him throughout the rest of the season, going into to the middle of just to the rest of the season.
For me, it's always you can always find some positives most of the time, even in losses. So I think for us, I think the positive night is the experience some of these guys got to get with each other, and Mo getting some more minutes and starting, and Asa coming out there still playing, getting his second real game. So I mean, I think really without those guys, it's hard to really judge us. But at the same time, we got games to play. It doesn't matter, and nobody cares. So we got to keep playing, and hopefully we can get those guys back.
Now, of course, those guys that he's talking about, of course, KP, Zaccharie Risacher, not Dyson Daniels, but Jalen Johnson, getting those guys back is definitely imperative. I do believe if they're back or they were back in the game, this would have been a totally different outcome. I do believe the Hawks would have possibly had a chance to win it in the end. Now, granted, think of it like this, too. Oklahoma City Thunder came into this game, and they've played 2 games in overtime. One versus the Indiana Pacers, whom they played in the NBA Finals, and then the other one versus the Houston Rockets at home. So it's not that Oklahoma City weren't dealing, they weren't dealing with any injuries. It's not like they weren't dealing with any issues of their own, but you put your best man on the floor. You put your best man on the floor, and you do what you can do. Again, just with the fact that the Hawks were low on certain guys, they did have to go deep into their reserves. They had to go deep into what they had on the court, and that's where that's just where I see it. I see that this is definitely going to have to be something about coaching. Coaching is going to definitely have to come out extreme, in these next few weeks, going into these next few games, actually throughout the rest of the season. The Atlanta Hawks, they have a bevy of talent on their squad, but unfortunately, the injury bug has bitten the Atlanta Hawks quite fast this year. I did not expect that to happen. But with all of that, I expect for the Atlanta Hawks to find a way through this. Thankfully, and I'm not, being thankful that these guys are dealing with any injuries, but, it's just an ankle sprain for Zaccharie Risacher and Jalen Johnson. Of course, I would expect for those guys to be back within a reasonable amount of time. KP, yes, it is said that he was dealing with flu-like symptoms. And yes, we also heard throughout the offseason from people, commenting on the page saying that, KP is oftentimes dealing with sickness or dealing with an injury, or he's not going to be around as often as we expect him to be. That is, I don't believe in that. I don't believe that that's the case. I do believe that KP will be back within a reasonable amount of time. And once that does happen, the Atlanta Hawks will be able to, find some things going on, with their team. Now, the bad, going through the bad. I have to say, Chet Holmgren starting off the way that he did in the early on was definitely tough, because this guy was 4 for 4 from the three-point line, ending out the evening 6 for 8 from the three-point line, 9 for 10 from the free throw line, with 31 points. Again, Chet Holmgren did an awesome job, but again, with the Atlanta Hawks, they stuck right there with them within the first few quarters. Actually, within the first 2 or 3 quarters, the Atlanta Hawks actually stayed really close with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Let me see. Let me go back to the recap. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah. The Atlanta Hawks were able to stick with the Oklahoma City Thunder within the first 2 to 3 quarters. But then once again, the third quarter is something that I'm finding out about the Atlanta Hawks, that they have to find a way to fight through. Once that third quarter gets in, teams are able to pull away, or teams are able to at least find a way to make some type of distance between the Hawks and themselves, and which does force the Atlanta Hawks to either they have to find a way to fight harder. I saw in the first game that the Atlanta Hawks had versus the Toronto Raptors, they wanted to shoot themselves out of a slump. They wanted to shoot themselves out of it. And that's not the case. In this situation, the Atlanta Hawks were able to, make shots alongside the Oklahoma City Thunder. They were able to make stops alongside the Oklahoma City Thunder. So we were able to see that the Hawks were able to stick with the Thunder. If we had KP, Jalen Johnson, Zaccharie Risacher, I do believe there would have been a difference in this game. Would the outcome have been different? I hope so. But I do believe that there would have been a difference in this game for sure. Another thing that was definitely bad, dealing with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's a very crafty player. I have to point that out. He's a very crafty player. He was able to find ways to draw fouls, and not only just draw fouls, but he was able to shoot for the shoot for and ones. It's not that he just gets the foul or he draws the foul, but he ends up making the shot and going to the stripe for the and one. So again, I think with all of the bad surrounding this game, the Atlanta Hawks were able to find out who they are right now early on. And I'm taking a lot of these things, not necessarily with a grain of salt, but I'm finding the good inside of the bad. A lot of these things. I'm definitely finding some good with the Atlanta Hawks as far as how things are concerned. Now, going further, my apologies, going further, the ugly is the fact that the Atlanta Hawks right now, they're 1-2, 0-2 at home. And things do get interesting as, time goes on. Again, I said that the Atlanta Hawks, they are going on a road trip that spans all the way until November 4th. So, of course, the next game, the Atlanta Hawks will be taking on the Chicago Bulls on Monday. After that, they go to Brooklyn, Indiana, and Cleveland. That is an East Coast road trip that is going to test the Atlanta Hawks. Is also going to show where the Hawks measure up in the Eastern Conference. Again, I said that the Atlanta Hawks are, in my opinion, a strong third in the Eastern Conference. I feel like the Hawks are a strong number 3 team in the Eastern Conference, top 3. But again, with the injury bug striking with the Atlanta Hawks quite early in the season, it definitely makes for this early test to be quite interesting. I can definitely tell you that Trae Young definitely has his work cut out for him. But I want to get into some of the comments that I definitely got online. Myself and Chris Tipmore, we got online from some of the people. Of course, oh, shoot, that's a little bit smaller than I had expected, but you can read it there. Is basically talking about coaching being a weak point. If Snyder would allow Coach Lagden, and I looked through the coaching staff, I'm not sure who that coach is, but definitely come back, comment, and let me know who you were talking about specifically. But if he were to work on the defense specifically, and point out defense as well as boxing out, the Hawks would be in... the Hawks will be an elite team. And this was from this person here. Let me see if I got another one really quickly. And basically all of these comments, you guys can read it here. They're talking about the coaching staff. They're talking about how this team definitely needs to lean into coaching. There's a bevy of talent, and I do feel as though if the coaching were to dive in and go into their reserves, and somebody actually pointed out, if they could use somewhat of a 12-man rotation, this would be a difference of a team. Things would look different for the Atlanta Hawks, and not just going to certain options because of injury or because of necessity or because that there's a need for this person, mainly because someone is out or someone is incapable of playing, going forward. Yes, again, the injury bug did strike a little earlier than I expected, but again, you got to also take into account 3 games in 4 days, a back-to-back, taking on the NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder. Not only that, the next 4 games are going to be on the road But I do like how adversity comes early and you get to see what type of team you have early on. I do expect for things to look different coming in the next, couple of days going into the month of November. And we'll see. The next game at home is going to be versus Orlando, and hopefully things will look a bit different. My name is Walter Pollard. This is Atlanta Hawks Digest, and I'm signing out. Peace.